Okay, last 1 minute before the starting of our event, please come to the front and sit. That area is a bit empty, looks not nice, so okay, come to the front for the friends at the corners. Yeah, if there is any friends at the front desk, you can come to the main hall and we will start our event very soon. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and a warm welcome to all of you. We are delighted to have you here to add our EV's borders Build the Future guaranteed. I'm Iris from Modal, and it is my distinct privilege to be your host today. This extraordinary event is jointly hosted by Chainbase, OP Crypto, DataChain, and Modal. Let me briefly introduce them to you. Chainbase empowers Web3 developers in the era of user-oriented internet. Chainbase streamlines Web3 development, offering a range of APIs for multi-chain networks, data queries, and more. Their ecosystems comprises a dashboard, chain network service, Web3 API service, Decrypto data cloud service, and developer suite. OP Crypto is an early-stage venture capital that backs the leading founders and asset managers across Asia and the West, with a focus on consumer infrastructure. As a full-stack fund, we work alongside our founders and support them at every step of their entrepreneurial journey. And DataChain is an EVM-compatible Layer 1 blockchain that connects everything. Build interoperable DApps that span any chain, including Bitcoin, access all chains from one place. And lastly, Modal is my community, so we are a community-led organization established in August 2021 and backed by Bybit. We are building a community to connect budding entrepreneurs in the Web3 space and to facilitate their collaborative efforts in this area, in the Web3 ecosystem. And additionally, we owe our thanks to our co-organizers, Particle Network, Myshell, and Matrix. Particle Network is a comprehensive development platform that aims to make the transition from Web 2 to Web 3 smoother and more efficient for developers. And Myshell stands as a groundbreaking multi-modal robot creation platform that exemplifies the seamless fusion of voice synthesis technologies and privatized large-scale language models, thereby ushering in the era of harmonious coexistence between the creation and consumption of the robots. Matrix is a US-based private equity investment firm focusing on venture capital investments. The firm invests in seed and early-stage companies, particularly in the software, communications, semiconductors, data storage, internet, and wireless sectors. Okay, today we have an exciting lineup of keynote speakers and panelists to lead us to embark on an exciting journey to explore and shape the future. Without further ado, please join me in welcome our host and the founder of OP Crypto, David, to give us an opening speech. Applause.
All right. Thanks, guys, for taking the time this afternoon to not only come to our event but also be here in Singapore as we really gather together and sort of form a community here. So this will be actually the first of many different panel series that we'll be doing all across the world. Us here at OP Crypto, we're early stage cross-border Web3 fund. We're based in New York, but we have offices in Beijing and hopefully in Hong Kong as well. So we'll be actually doing a series of panels starting from New York that we're going to be doing monthly. We've had a lot of different communities in the past, and that in 2022 we had our own Hacker House and Builder House that we've had over, I would say, 40,000 people that's come in through all the different events that we've hosted with the likes of all the biggest layer 1 blockchains, Polygon, BNB Chain, like Polkadot, Mir, etc. And for us, it's really about being the bridge between Asia and the West. So if there are any really good entrepreneurs looking for funding, not only from us, but also from institutional investors out West, we're happy to be that bridge and make the connections for you guys. So that's more on our direct investment side, but we also have a couple of vehicles that we're running as well, including our fund of funds. So if any emerging managers are looking for LP capital, we're happy to be supporters, not only to help you fund your GP stake, but also be early anchors of the funds that you guys are looking to develop. And also we have an AlphaDAO entity in New York that we use to really bring together some of the best builders within Brooklyn and Manhattan and host a number of series of events like the panel series that we do, but we'll also work natively with a lot of the Web3 builders within New York to do events like happy hours, demo days, hackathons, etc. So we're actually having another event on the 21st, hosting a ZK Day with Particle Network, with 7X, and also Mental. So without further ado, there's a packed series of panels that are coming up, and I think that's one thing that we hope to really enable is to form more education in the Web3 space. So I do encourage everyone to be more interactive, so ask questions and be able to really connect with the speakers at the end of their sharing to learn more and share and synergize together. So thank you very much, and we would love to welcome the next keynote. I think it's Chainbase.
Okay, thank you, David, for delivering such an energetic and interesting opening speech today. And thank you all for coming to our event. We've gathered some of the brightest minds in the industry to explore the exciting world of Web3 development. Our first speaker is now here, the product lead at Chainbase. Ryan will share with us the insights on bridging Web2 and Web3 developers through the Chainbase approach. Please welcome our speakers.
Today I will show the topics about the paradigm shift on the Web3 data infra. This is my agenda. I will show you what's the difference between the pre-Web3 and the Web3, and what's the data challenge we face in the Web3, and this is how we can make the solution for this web challenge. And I will take you close look our Chainbase platform architecture and tell you how we can solve this web challenge. And first, I will talk about the good question about the pre-Web3 and the Web3. And as you know, the pre-Web3, so many big companies has owned this data, and the data cannot be shared, cannot be transferred, and it is also cannot be non-compatible. So it cannot be mixed for use of the data. So when the data is leaked or be tampered, it will be not safe to our life. And in Web3, the data exchange is open, transparent, and immutable. The value can be distributed with blockchain transactions. So we can share our value for others. And like the Ethereum, the Ethereum like the world's largest computer and database. Yes. I will take you a close look at the Web3 data layer and the Web3 technical stack. You can look at the raw data is fetched from the channels without any filtration and the transformation. And the second layer is like the decoder layer. We do some decode use all the API to decode the smart contracts transaction even. And the topmost layer is abstract data layer. We provide this layer for the developer to use this data to make so many applications. So you guys can see this is the most complicated Web3 technical stack. So when we use this API or the helpful tools, there were so many big data challenges we face. And next, I will talk about the major data challenge we always meet in the Web3 developer. Yes, the fragmented and closed data set always make some trouble for us. So it can reduce flexibility in our analysis, and it always increase the maintenance costs. And now we have so few the data analyze tools, so it cannot be quick to analyze the data set in the blockchains. And we always meet some unreliable data inflows, so it cannot be good for us to develop Web3 apps. So here comes our chain-based solutions. Like our vision is summarized in the 3 words: open, fast, and reliable. We provide 3 solutions to this big challenge. The first is we provide a unified and open data sets for everyone in the data cloud. You can try the chain-based account. And the second, we try to build a real-time and fast streaming warehouse. And the third, we try to build a scalable and reliable data platform for everyone. So this is a little technical. It's like a data processing progress. You can think the chain-based has like a kitchen. The inputs like the material. We ingest from the on-chain data and the off-chain data into the workstation. And we have the 4 layers to processing this data with decoding and transformation and indexing the database. And finally, we make it available in our dataset. So everybody can query the API or using the dashboard to view our datasets. It's like a workstation, yes. So next, I will get deeper in our solution. So look at these 2 pictures. On the left side is the generally we develop the Web3. You have to rely on different API and service, use the multiple products, but it is make trouble for our development workflow. So it will increase our development cost. Also, they have the same infra node, but chain-based we unify the API and try to open it to the developer to build their apps. So it can increase the development cost. Yes. And second, I will get you to the streaming house. This is a big project in our team to try to build a real-time warehouse. Nowadays, there are so many data infra, but they provide query API with data latency. And produce consumer messaging mode. We try to ingest the data from the chain node and try to run some streaming jobs to transformation this data. And finally, we can get some data like the raw data, decoded data, and abstract data. And when we finish this process, you can try to make the API dashboard, and finally you can save this data set to your backend. And last, I will tell you what is our data platform maker use of. And they have 3 layers. The fundamental layer is the infra layer. We put all our nodes in the base layer and try to fetch some data, try to do some smart contract decryption, and do some ETL transformation. And finally, we can provide this feature like the Web3 API, Chain API, and other like sync features. So this is what Chain-based platform made of. So this is our customer. We're now nearly 5,000 developer or team just run their app and API in our Chainbase. Yes, we're not serving the NFT. The security company always use our data, try to do some deeper analyze. And the Valley company always use our Web3 API, try to build their apps. Yes, and we now support the 12 chains network. Yes, that's all. Any question? anyone have already used the Chainbase before? Okay. Okay, guys, that's all.
Okay, thanks Ryan for delivering such a detailed speech. And next, we will be having our panel discussions. So it's a time for our engaging panel discussions on the Web3 infrastructures. And let's welcome our moderators and panelists to come to the stage. They are Dennis Fidif, the head of developer experience at DataChain, Ethan, the developer relationship at Particle Network, Jiahui Fu, who is the head of ecosystem at Chainbase, Weiming Li, the senior startup advocate from AWS, will be our moderator for these sessions. So panelists, take seat and we can begin the sessions.
Hello? Yes, good afternoon. Welcome to the first panel of this afternoon. My name is Weimin. I'm from AWS. For anyone who doesn't know what AWS does, we are a cloud provider that provides infrastructure for, I would call us a meta infrastructure provider. We provide infrastructure for Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, Web 4, Web 5. So yeah, I'm honored to have our distinguished guests here. And I have tons of questions to ask them. Let's start by introducing yourself and your project. We try to be concise and please, 30 seconds each, please, Dennis.
Sure, my name is Dennis. I lead developer experience at ZetaChain. ZetaChain is an L1 EVM compatible blockchain that focuses on blockchain interoperability. It allows developers to build omni-chain dApps, which basically can be called from any connected chain. You can build smart contracts for Bitcoin, you can pass messages from one chain to another and build all sorts of cool, modern cross-chain dApps.
Ethan.
Yeah, so my name is Ethan Francis. I go by the alias Tabasco online. I lead developer relations for Particle Network. I actually just recently joined Particle Network pretty much this week. Previously, I led developer relations for Chainstack. To be very concise, Particle Network is essentially accelerating user adoption through MPC, TSS, and account abstraction solutions, enabling developers to integrate modular and customizable wallet infrastructure natively into their applications.
Wow, you do that in 1 week. That's a hell of work. Tabasco is Ethan's Telegram handle. Tabasco, anyone who likes something spicy. Jiahui, please.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Jiahui. I lead ecosystem at Chainbase. So Chainbase is basically a Web3 data platform for accessing, organizing, and analyzing data. And I'm happy to be here and to discuss more about on-chain data and Web3 infra in general.
Nice. We heard that Chainbase did a keynote session just now, right? And your project speaks for itself. Why do you guys choose what you do, and why do you think it's important to the Web3 infrastructure? So why is that you choosing to do what you guys are doing?
So from a bigger picture, so basically we see blockchain as an open data network that is globally accessible, and all the on-chain data should be accessible and usable for everyone. But for now, to accessing and utilizing on-chain data, especially for developers, is not an easy task. So that's why we want to build one platform for developers to use on-chain data in the most efficient and easy way. Because our founding team members, they are all like developers themselves, so they encounter the issues while deploying on-chain and while accessing the on-chain data. So that's why they compare with like different products and they build the product for ourselves. That's Chainbase. Apart from that, it's like we see if the whole DApp ecosystem is going to grow and if the whole Web3 space is going to kind of encounter the mass adoption point, the developer experience should be like enhanced first. So we find that a lot of developers for now, they're dealing with the backend hustles all the time, so they don't have enough time to focus on their application level innovations. So that's why we want to kind of remove their workload on the backend so that they can better focus on the product.
So to summarize what you just said, it's that's data and developer experience. Is that right?
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. Ethan.
Yeah, so in the context of Web3 infrastructure and developer tooling, at Particle, really what we aim to do is, number one, start with user experience. Of course, right now, as I'm sure many of you are aware, the user experience of Web3 is definitely not suitable for mass adoption and for mainstream usage. So at Particle, we're trying to accelerate kind of our path as an industry towards this overall goal of mainstream adoption. And the way that we do this is through something that we call wallet as a service, so it's wallet infrastructure. Very targeted towards developers in terms of integrating things that enable users to onboard into their applications with familiar methods like Google, Twitter, email, phone number, stuff like that. And we do this through a variety of SDKs and APIs with kind of the end goal here of providing developers with something that's highly modular, so they can choose exactly how they implement it into their application, meaning it makes it very application specific and also very customizable, so a developer can choose even all the way down to like the colors of the user interface and stuff like this. This is hence the name Wallet as a Service. And the goal here is to cultivate an ecosystem where it's very easy for users to get onboarded in Web3 and use applications. We're kind of taking this even a step further with something that we actually just announced at InfoCon on Tuesday, which is Particle Network V2. So we're taking the existing MPC, TSS, and even kind of abstraction wallet model with Particle Network's Wallet as a Service and introducing zero-knowledge factors into this. So we're making authentication completely confidential, introducing confidential transactions, and introducing this thing that we call intent centricity, which will, in my opinion at least, shift the user interaction and even developer landscape once it's fully released. To be somewhat brief, intent centricity essentially refers to the shifting of user experience and user interaction from a very base layer sequential interaction, right? So at the moment, for example, if you want to earn yield on USDC, right, it requires multiple transactions, in some cases multiple approvals, multiple signatures. You sequentially go through the steps to achieve your end goal, and this is inherently an inefficiency. This is a point of friction when it comes to user experience. So with intent centricity, what we're doing is saying, well, there's all these middle steps that are unnecessary, right, for users to interact with. And we're basically allowing users to just express what they want to do, express a desired outcome. And then in the back end, with our Intent Fusion protocol, which leverages unified account abstraction and multi-chain and bidder and solver networks, eventually all the user does is they say, I want X, and then we give them X, regardless of how many steps, bridging, swaps of tables it takes, we do all that in the back end, and a user is just presented with their desired outcome. So all this to say, really what we're trying to do here in the landscape of Web3 infrastructure is provide developers and users alike with a seamless way of onboarding and interacting.
Okay, that's a lot to digest. I'm not sure if you can summarize what you said, but something that came to my attention is that the new MPC plus account abstraction and the zero knowledge factors or features that you added to the toolings. So you talk about wallet. So I'm sure there are many more features up now. So we'll talk about later. And Dennis, yeah, Zeta Chain, why did you guys choose to do what you guys do? I mean, I'm really curious.
Sure. So Zeta Chain provides a platform for building on-chain dApps, and we think it's very important because for a long while, chains have been dApps have been siloed to individual chains, and it's time for dApp developers to actually move to this omni-chain, multi-chain world where you can't just be limited to just one blockchain. You need to not only you need to be deployed on multiple chains, you need to ensure that users can move assets between them, that they can seamlessly pass data and not be locked into a single ecosystem. And many projects are focused on that, and message passing is a popular choice, right? It works for some use cases, but Zeta Chain goes a step beyond that and offers a solution that is much easier to manage from an architectural point of view. Instead of, I'm going to talk about this more, but basically you just need one contract that is super connected to all the chains that Zeta Chain supports, including non-smart contract chains like Bitcoin. So essentially providing a seamless way, a streamlined way for developers to build in this multi-chain world without going crazy with all the smart contracts and all the chains and all the messages passing through.
So if I understand you correctly, so you deploy a smart contract on different chains, same contract, is that right? No?
Yes, so Zeta Chain offers message passing where you deploy a contract to different chains. That's one option. The other option is you just deploy one contract to Zeta Chain and it is connected by default to all the connected chains.
So both ways work?
Yeah.
Okay, so for those chains that don't support smart contract like Bitcoin, the Mexican method works, right?
The second option
So it's
works.
a combination of the two methods.
Yeah, because there are different use cases, there are very different dApps and all require different approaches.
Okay. So, now I know. So anyone who wants to ask anything, questions to these guests, speakers? Yeah. Okay, Sally, please.
Yeah, hello, I'm Sally. I'm an investor in the crypto industry, in primary market, not the tokens. But my question is does infrastructure can make revenue now? Because I know Chainbase, you do have a lot of partnerships right now. But how do we earn revenues? And so the same questions for Zeta Chain and Particle Network.
Yeah, we make money from them, so
Yeah.
it's your now. Sorry. Yeah, please, Dennis. How do you make money?
How do we make money? So first of all,
That's a hard question.
Zeta Chain is a public blockchain, so making money is, I wouldn't say that's the right term for a public blockchain. We increase the utility of the software that we're building, right? And the utility in the multi-chain world, utility is apparent to builders because when you have so many chains, you need a good tooling for you to build on top of that, right? When users expect your NFTs to be movable between chains, transferable between chains, somehow you need to provide that for these users, right? And without resorting to insecure solutions, We've seen bridges often get hacked. We need to provide a more decentralized solution for that. So in terms of utility, I think it should be pretty apparent that we basically provide this layer of interoperability between different blockchains. So that kind of translates into value.
We have enough to spend. We'll think about making money later. That's pretty much what I said. Okay, then, yeah, please.
It's a very good question, and I think it's something that a lot of organizations, especially on the developer-facing kind of core infrastructure side, are trying to answer. You know, within infrastructure, having previously worked at an RPC provider, revenue looks very different depending on the type of infrastructure in the organization. So, for example, for an RPC provider, it's very simply just selling people services and selling people infrastructure. For something like Particle Network, we actually don't charge for anything. We don't receive money from people in that sense. Our revenue model is actually, as we start to release V2 and as we go into the future, is something that I can't quite talk about just yet, but we'll have an announcement regarding some things that we're doing to improve user experience while also providing value to the community that can kind of answer that question for us. But you know, revenue in the infrastructure space in general is an interesting problem. And, you know, right now, generating revenue from Web3 in general is a hard thing, but I think it really depends on the organization, and for us, it's something that we're working on, and we'll probably hear more about it soon.
Yeah, so for us at Chainbase, I know you probably know that we are operating as a SaaS model, so it's like a monthly subscription, which is similar to the quote-unquote traditional industry, but I don't think that they are actually traditional, but compared to Web3, they might be traditional. As you mentioned, it's like our RPC provider like Alchemy and QuickNote, they're also operating on that model as well, but we are not just like an RPC provider. We have our RPC layer, but we also have the data APIs and data sets, and also sync feature, which is like push service for the data. So like different ways and flexible ways of using data for the developers. So speaking of revenue generating in this space specifically, I think the problem with this whole industry is like even if you don't have like a robust business model, you can hype a narrative and you can get money from the VC very quickly. And also, if you're not getting money from VC, you can also launch your tokens, and even if that token do not have like enough value, you can also like be the money printing machine for that. I'm not like criticizing this industry. I think it's like still at a very early stage, and maybe we are not kind of in a stage of developing a really mature tokenomics for each protocol. So some projects, they don't have like very mature thinking of what the actual utility of the tokens have, but we are still exploring, right? So I think it's the revenue generation might be some question for the quote-unquote Web 2 or like some mature business to think, and for now it's like we are still at the exploration stage, and I think we are still on the way to actually think of innovative business model for the blockchain that's only enabled, that's only can be enabled by the blockchain technology, right? So for now, most of the projects, even if they're in Web3, they're making money on a Web2 business model. For example, they are charging fees, and they are charging fees per transactions, and they're like operating as a SaaS model, and they're also like, for example, getting money from advertisers. So they're all like traditional business models. So what can actually be enabled by tokens is actually I personally want to see in this industry in the next 3 to 5 years, I think.
So does that answer your question? Yes, exactly. So have you talked to Sally before, so you can talk to her later. Anyone else who wants to ask speakers a question? You have one more? Okay, so what's your valuation?
I know their evaluation. I talked with them like long time ago. It's okay. But one more question: that when you launch tokens, what's your plan about token paths? Yeah, as an infrastructure, because some infrastructures do not plan to launch token. I'd like to see your guys' preference. Yeah.
It's directed to all of them?
Yeah, all of them.
Who wants to answer first?
Yeah, I mean, I can answer this. This isn't something that we've done right now, but I think just from a general perspective and everything that I've seen, launching tokens, it can't be exclusively for free money, right? This is what a lot of organizations end up doing, but it has to have real utility, at least in my opinion. It needs to be a way to drive real value and provide real utility to the platform or whatever you're providing from an infrastructure perspective. And if the token that you're launching doesn't have an immediate place within your organization, within your platform, then, as an organization, the next step would be to find a way to fit that in, to where it's not just a token for governance or something like that, but rather has a real utility. And from that, lots of organizations use it as a sort of revenue model, and use it to drive value, which I think is valid, especially if it has real utility and the community can use it in a way that is seamless and can interact with your product. So I think that's my personal opinion on it, and that's a philosophy that we feel very aligned by in terms of, especially on the user side, creating something that people can actually use and provide utility.
So for us, not launching a token wasn't really an option because it's a public proof of stake blockchain, so the token utility is also in securing the network, it's used in governance, it's also used on the liquidity pools, which are crucial for cross-chain transactions because you need to pay fee on destination chains, so you need to charge that, and also one of the use cases, it's not the only feature of course, but one of the popular use cases is cross-chain swaps, and you can do that easily on Zeta Chain. For that, you also need a token that has a pair with every other token. So for us, it wasn't really an option, but kind of a necessity since we're sovereign L1.
Yeah, I like your answer. We have to.
Speaking of launch token, so I can't represent changes on that in terms of if we are going to launch a token or what kind of token are we going to launch. But first, I want to define infra first. Because so some people consider as an infra, and Particle Network and Zeta Chain are also infra, but like Zeta Chain, they're more like a blockchain itself, and Particle is like onboarding developer tool in a sense. But we're more like how to say on-chain data infra, which is like not the same as the infrastructure that you can think of in the blockchain world. So when speaking of infrastructure, people think about like how to say blockchain itself and like cross-chain communication protocol and bridge and oracles and all this. But we are more like a tool for developers to get the on-chain data easily so that they can build better dApps. And for this kind of tool, the utmost thing that you want to ensure is the reliability. So if you can like kind of provide the highest reliability for the builders so that they don't need to care about their backend hustles, so that they can better build their dApps, then I think our task is complete, right? So for us, it's like we don't really think there's a incentive or there's a need for us to launch token for that reliability side. And also for this kind of infrastructure that are like us, it's maybe better for us to operate on enterprise-facing like SaaS model. And for some like public good, that kind of infrastructure that, for example, providing better interoperability experience and providing better onboarding experience for like end users, there might be like incentive design in their tokens that they actually need to launch a token to provide the utilities for the whole industry. And so I think a case, like an example that I can give is like the graph. So before that, the graph is like quote-unquote centralized, and it's kind of providing that on-chain data accessibility for developers as well. But after they become like decentralized and after they launch their tokens, their product team is basically like not doing anything, if that makes sense. So I think so for some token launches actually de-incentivize the team to better iterate their product. But I'm not like saying any bad things about the graph. Yeah, I like the product as well.
Good point. Okay, now I have a spicy question for Ethan. So you guys are providing a MPC-based wallet solution. Actually, users can develop their own wallet using your solution. Actually, yeah. So you're providing that. But Vitalik seems to think that smart contract option is a better one than the MPC-based solution. Do you agree with him, and why?
This is a very good question. When I was reading through the questions beforehand, I saw that I was like, I actually saw this out last night at Builder Nights. Pretty new here actually. He did a good talk on kind of abstraction, smart contract wallets and stuff like that. And I have to say, I don't think he's wrong. I think that when you look at MPC solutions, at the moment within Particle Network V1 we use EOAs, so external accounts. These are the traditional rigid accounts everybody uses for transactions, signatures, receiving, whatever, right? Account abstraction, introducing smart contract wallets, is the next evolution past EOAs. And right now with MPC TSS, we're primarily doing EOAs, but I think that he's totally right in terms of even with MPC and what it enables for EOAs is not comparable to account abstraction and what that can enable. Just as a basic. So what we've done is we recognize that, and of course, wanting to continually push user experience forward, we decided to adopt account abstraction, smart contract wallets natively within our infrastructure. We actually partnered with Biconomy. I'm sure some of you guys have seen Etiquette, the CEO there, I believe the CEO. He's been doing a bunch of panels. I actually just came from a panel with him a few minutes ago. And we partnered with them essentially to provide account abstraction natively within Particle Network. So whenever you're going to the wallet, right, it's as simple as clicking a button and you can sign into a smart contract wallet. And this is all facilitated through MPC, so we call this MPC EA. So as a user and as a developer, you get to choose in your application if you want your users to use EOA wallet, if you want them to use account abstraction, if you want to use a smart contract wallet. So it's completely up to the developer at that point. In some cases, even the user that they want to use. So this is the approach that we think is best. I believe MPC as a kind of base layer way of securing wallets is very strong. But we're totally flexible in terms of the transition from EOAs to account abstraction. And even within V2, we're taking account abstraction at the absolute core of the new technology that we're creating. So within V2, account abstraction plays a major role in what we're doing, because this is a belief of both myself personally as well as our organization. Account abstraction is truly the future of user accessibility and user experience. So we're taking this full-on at it. And I think Vitalik is probably right. There is a lot more that you can do with smart contract wallets, and we recognize that and integrate it into the Particle.
Very informative, and thanks for the sharing in the insights. And I have a question for you, Dennis. I've learned that Zeta Chain has used Cosmos SDK and build your solution, and on the Comet EFT consensus, but you don't consider yourself a part of the Cosmos ecosystem, right? Or you tackle the interoperability not the same way that Cosmos does. Neither did you the way Polkadot did, right? So why is that? And what's the thoughts behind those decisions?
Sure, that's a very good question. So whether Zeta Chain is part of Cosmos ecosystem, it's a very subjective question. So we are built on Cosmos Tech. We're currently focused on EVM builders, just because that's a very big market, and there are many chains, not all of them are interoperable between each other, and interoperability with Bitcoin is also a huge opportunity, right? Whether our chain is part of Cosmos, I think, kind of depends on how interoperable it is with other Cosmos chains. And Cosmos has its own protocol called IBC, which can be enabled on Zeta Chain. maybe it will be enabled earlier, maybe later, maybe it will be decided by governance, because Cosmos chains are known to be very active in terms of governance. So it's not really even up to us, but rather up to the community of stakers who will be participating in governance. Would they like Zeta Chain to become more part of Cosmos? Then they will vote on enabling IBC, and that will open more opportunities, for example, bridging, well, not bridging, but opening gateway to Bitcoin for Cosmos chains, which I think would be a great service to the ecosystem. So yeah, I would say that Zeta Chain is definitely part of the Cosmos ecosystem. How deep the integration will be depends on the will of the community that will be participating in governance.
So is it fair to say that you can use the IBC protocol and you did something beyond IBC plus something else to interact with non-Cosmos chains?
Exactly, that's a very good way to put it. So IBC can be enabled on Zeta Chain, but Zeta Chain, as its core functionality, goes beyond IBC and opens even more opportunities for chains to be connected, which I think is really cool, because you can't really do IBC on Bitcoin. That it doesn't have the prerequisite for something like this, but the TSS mechanism that Zeta Chain is using can work on any chain, including Bitcoin. So yeah.
Okay, thanks. Jiahui, I have a question for you. The chain-based, right, facilitates on-chain data interaction for developers. And what do you see the opportunities and challenges other from revenues in this track? And what do you think generative AI could bring to this track that further facilitates more like smart data interaction for developers? Do you think that's something you guys have in mind looking forward?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So for the challenges and opportunity, I start with challenges. So for data, it's like, so although all the on-chain data, people think they're like available on-chain, they're not indexable. So basically, you have to kind of put this on-chain data in like an off-chain environment and actually to make it indexable for the developers, so that they can get the data in real time. And also because of some of the architecture design of blockchain itself, you will face some like reorganization problems that makes the data will not be accessed in real time. So these are all the like technical difficulties that may not be that sexy to solve, but you need to solve if you kind of want to pave the way for dApps to grow further. So we're not doing something very narrative driven like ZK or like ZKML or like AA or like all these things. Is like we are down to build the best developer-friendly tool to get on-chain data. And for the opportunities that we see is that there are still many of the on-chain data right now, they're transaction in the transaction format. But we can see that there will be more and more data format to be generated, and also they might be in the form that we've never imagined before. So that's why we want to continue building this and to see when the on-chain data and the dApps are going to flourish. And also for the AI and blockchain stuff, we heard a lot of things about like the crypto plus AI and all this, but I don't really hear really like innovative use cases for that. So for now, maybe there are several use cases. So decentralized computing for AI models, right? That's one, and to put on-chain data in the AI models, another, right? And also ZKML, it's like to efficiently decrease the computation cost is also one, but they're more like on the exploration stage, not just not like a business use case. So what I see the combination of AI blockchain right now is like a lot of blockchain companies, they're using AI to increase the workflow internally. So for example, use ChatGPT, like they hire a prompt engineer and they kind of use AI, like they require their staff to use AI in their workflows. And also so we can also see some of the tools that built in for the developer IDE so that they can write better codes and to debug less, right? So these are some of the seeds at sea, but I think ultimately, I think blockchain and AI, they are built for each other. Because when AI is like kind of increasing the productivity in general, like blockchain is kind of kind of reorganize the relations, right? Production relations. So when AI is creating more and more content and data, the blockchain is definitely needed to verify this data and identifying which data are actually valuable, because only the valuable data can be like put on chain. So I think there are a lot of like opportunities in regarding that, but for now I don't see like really many things that can be implemented right now. So we are like still keeping an open mind and to keep a close eye on this trend. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think we've got 5 minutes left. I think I have a question for you guys, and Ethan, what's your top 3 priorities or the trends that you see that's happening in the Web3 infrastructure on the infrastructure front, that's gonna help us be onboard the next billion users? So what's your top 3 views, you think?
That is a very good question. And I think number one, maybe a slightly boring one, but I think to start, developer tooling is not only getting significantly better, so data access is getting way easier, more flexible, but it's also getting way cheaper, right? So as we progress, we're getting better data tools, better developer tools, and accessing them for significantly less than we did previously. This is big, right? Number 2 is the other thing that I think is really important, is that with this kind of advent of cheaper and better developer tooling that we're seeing for the past few months, and of course into the future, is, like I've been mentioning, the kind of abstraction and general evolutions in user experience. I think that at the end of the day, a lot of applications right now are constrained by external node accounts, so the kind of traditional account model. I think with the introduction of smart contract wallets, we'll see not only an evolution in user experience, but also in the possibilities of what developers can actually produce. So I think this is a big step forward for us. And then in general, user experience and the tools that we have available to improve user experience, right now especially, I don't know, I'm sure plenty of you have gone to different events over the past few weeks. This account abstraction, this evolution user experience has been a very, very common theme. I think probably the number 1 theme, at least from my experience here at the events this week. So I think we're not only like moving into the future of developer tooling right now and infrastructure, but we're also on the cusp of a major evolution in user and developer experience. Anyways, yeah, so I love it. I think that we're very close to something that could shift Web3 from a very engineering-focused space to a consumer-friendly space. I think we're almost there. There's just a little bit more that we need to do and problems that we need to solve, but then we're going to be point where we have the tools to solve those problems at our disposal.
Yep, great, thanks. Dennis?
So I agree about developer tooling. Of course, this is something that has to be improved, and we're doing our part because tooling for single chain development exists and it's pretty good, but tooling for multi-chain is still being improved, and we're still trying to figure out what's the best way to do things. So the second thing that I think is important is UX. So people notoriously are bad at keeping things secure, passwords secure, private keys. So making that part of the operating system perhaps, or making it just easier for regular people to use crypto would be number two. And the third one, I would say finding more use cases, right? We will have the tooling, we have the UX, but it's not going to be all that useful unless there are actual real-world use cases where people not only can pay for stuff, but actually manage more of their assets and data on chain, if it makes sense, of course, with this sort of data. So not everything has to be on chain, but there's still many areas in identification systems and ownership systems that could leverage blockchain.
Okay, both of you we agree on the tooling that puts a lot of pressure on Jiahui. So also a huge opportunity. What's your top three?
We're not defining ourselves as like developer tooling company. We're defining ourselves as an infrastructure. So top three. One is to become more robust. So for now, we're like dealing with the blockchain data, which is compared to the Web2 data, compared to the traditional database data, is just a very few of them. To kind of actually onboard the billion users, you definitely need the ability or capability to deal with that amount of data, which is like 100 or maybe like 1,000 times of this current blockchain data in total. So more robust. And second one is more automated and more intelligent, because we also mentioned that AI is kind of like changing us, not changing the humans, but also changing the machines. Fundamentally. So we can see that while AI is improving the productivity in general, we also need more automated tools that can make everything, make the standardized work done in the most efficient way. So that's the second point. And the third point is actually to be more seamless. So if we are going to onboard 1 billion users, I'm not saying like 1 million, it's like 1 billion, then it should be the same as they are using, for example, phone, and as they are using like blockchain, right? So how to like kind of make that possible is like your Web3 infrastructure should be should be like kind of not that exposed to the user interface. Because this is like on the infrastructure side thing, and because our industry is so early, so we are still like working on this infrastructure. So the user need to interact directly with the infrastructure, which is not a right thing if it's going to the mass adoption, right? So I think the more seamless is the third point. But last and not least, I'm thinking another point which is not about the developer tooling or the Web3 infra at all. Is we need to increase the female power in this industry. As you can see that we are like 4 panelists and I'm the only woman here. And especially like the women coder and the women developer in this space. So I think as a women, we are also going to like unite and to kind of help each other in this space, yeah.
Can't agree more. I think the female part is the highlight of our panel this afternoon. And we're right on time, and thank you guys. You guys are the best. Thank you for the sharing, and let's have a round of applause for these guys. And thank you very much, and thank you. Good job.
So thanks all of our moderators and panelists to deliver such a technical, hardcore, and very insightful panel discussions to all of us. So next we will have Dennis, who is the developer experience at DataChain, to give us a speech on interoperable omni-chain contracts for Bitcoin. Okay, thank you.
So I'm not going to introduce myself, I already did that. Let's go into the slides. So I already introduced the project, but we'll go into more details and I'll answer the questions if you have any. So feel free to stop me at any point in the presentation if something's not clear. But ZetaChain, what is ZetaChain, right? It's an L1 EVM compatible blockchain focused on interoperability. It's a system that allows developers to build omni-chain dApps where you deploy a contract once and it's automatically connected to all the chains that ZetaChain supports. ZetaChain also offers cross-chain messaging if you want to augment your existing contracts to become interoperable with contracts on other chains. So it offers 2 ways of building dApps. Depending on your use case, you can choose one. Architecturally, it's built on top of Comet BFT. You may know it as Tendermint BFT, Cosmos SDK, chain agnostic TSS. It has a EVM module for EVM compatibility and liquidity pools on chain for swapping, for doing cross-chain swaps and for swapping tokens for transaction fees. So crypto is becoming multi-chain. There's nothing you can do about it. There's going to be thousands, hundreds, and potentially thousands of chains. And we need, as an industry, to figure out what exactly are we going to do about it and how are we going to connect all these pieces together. So there are bridges, there are messaging solutions, there are also centralized exchanges that handle this cross-chain traffic, and many of them, some solutions are focused on scaling as well, right? And they by default communicate with their corresponding L1s. So there are many solutions, many of them have disadvantages, and ZetaChain essentially is trying to solve that by being better, by introducing omni-chain dApps that have no obvious kind of disadvantages that are inherent to bridging solutions. So existing solutions are often insecure. They're fragmenting the industry that is already fragmented enough. They're hard to use. They're dealing with wrapped assets, which increase your dependency on the chain that you're sending your assets from. So there are many inherent disadvantages to current solutions. And you can even see that in UX, right? If you open Uniswap, any swap, any DEX, you see this drop down of chains. So it's not multi-chain. It's not interconnected. It's just deployed on different chains, and they're not in any way connected. There are bridging solutions that deal with wrapped assets, which is okay, but it could be better. Users, at the end of the day, do not want to deal with wrapped assets if that's possible. So interoperability can be much better. We can provide functionality for developers that is focused on native assets, that reduces dependency on the L1s from where they're sending tokens. We can make it faster, we can make it more reliable. Interoperability is important for devs because users will want interoperable dApps eventually, so the developers might as well get used to building in this multi-chain world, and it's up to us to provide the right tooling for them and making sure that they don't have to reinvent the wheel and build a bridge from scratch or do something else that will hurt them later down the road. So ZetaChain solves that by replacing the need for things like centralized exchanges and bridges with cross-chain messaging and omni-chain contracts. Those are two solutions that are kind of separate, but they work well for different use cases. And the way it works under the hood is we have a proof-of-stake blockchain that is secured by validators, and these validators, some of them, a subset of them is called observers. We call them observers. Basically, they run nodes for all the chains that are connected to ZetaChain, and when they see an event happening on a connected chain, they report back to ZetaChain, they vote on this transaction, and if enough votes get collected, then transactions go through. So yeah, as I said, the network is connected by validators and secured by them, and there are liquidity pools on ZetaChain that facilitate these cross-chain transactions. So ZetaChain has a lot of advantages over existing solutions. We don't deal with wrapped assets. We are chain agnostic. We work with any kinds of chains. We don't have to even have smart contract support. So one of the highlights is Bitcoin. I'm going to talk more about it a bit later. But it doesn't also require relayers. So in some ecosystems, there is a problem where you have interoperability, but you have to rely on off-chain relayers. You don't have to trust them, but you need to ensure that they are running, and you need to incentivize them because it's costly to run relayers. With Zeta Chain, it's much simpler because the same validators that secure the network act as relayers of sort because they move information from other chains to Zeta Chain and vice versa, of course. So since it's built on a very solid foundation, it features very fast block times, instant finality, many thousands of transactions per second. We're talking local transactions, not cross-chain ones, of course. And it supports hundreds of validators, so Cosmos chains are known for their flexibility in terms of how many validators can secure the network. Some networks even launched in testnet, like with thousands of validators. So currently, Zeta Chain in testnet, and we have around 100 validators, 20 of them are observers. So Zeta Chain is very active in terms of community growth. We have, well, it says 1.4, but right now it's over 1.8 million users, thousands of contracts deployed, millions of internal transactions, and millions of cross-chain transactions as well. All these users are testing, effectively stress testing the network and ensuring that it's ready for mainnet. Our roadmap is we're in an incentivized testnet phase now. We've been working hard for the past 3 quarters to make it happen, and now we're looking into launching mainnets in the next couple of months. So Zeta Chain, and I get this question quite a lot, like, oh, which project Zeta Chain is focused on? It's a general purpose system. You can build anything you want with them. I would say it's still an app-specific chain in a way, and the application is interoperability. If you want your app to be interoperable, then you would definitely benefit from on-chain contracts. So it doesn't really matter whether you're building gaming, NFT, DeFi, identity. It doesn't matter if your dApp is multi-chain by default, then you should consider building on something like Zeta Chain. So going back to Bitcoin, like how does it work? And I think that's one of the highlights of what Zeta Chain can offer is Bitcoin interoperability, right? So Bitcoin is not great at smart contracts, right? You can't really build much on it, but there's a lot of value in this blockchain. There are a lot of holders. So what Zeta Chain effectively allows you to do is build a smart contract, deploy it on Zeta Chain, write it in Solidity, and when a user sends tokens, sends BTC on Bitcoin, your contract gets called, and this BTC in wrapped version becomes available, and you can swap it for another token, you can execute any kind of logic you want, and at any time you can withdraw your asset back to Bitcoin, and it's all secured by validators. So this opens up a lot of possibilities to implement things like Bitcoin staking, lending, all sorts of DeFi applications. And you're not limited to Zeta Chain. You can also move these assets to other connected chains. So this not only provides Bitcoin with smart contract support, but also smart contract that can talk to other chains. So yeah, on Bitcoin you send BTC to a special address called TSS, and a contract on Zeta Chain gets executed. That's as simple as that. And this TSS address is not a contract, it's a simple address, so we're trying to reduce the surface area of potential attacks or hacks, and we're making it as simple as it can be. So this is a more complex example where on the left side you have Bitcoin, you're sending BTC, and the goal is to do a cross-chain swap, which you can easily do on Zeta Chain. You get a wrapped version of this BTC, and they have liquidity pools paired with native assets paired with Zeta wrapped versions of native assets. And you swap it for a wrapped version of ETH, and then you withdraw it back to Ethereum. So even though originally, in the beginning I said we're not dealing with wrapped assets, we are not dealing with them on destination chains, right? That's the goal, not to have wrapped assets reaching end users. But when we're working with them on Zeta Chain, there are of course wrapped versions just to facilitate these sort of transactions. And they exist often for a very short period of time, just to make sure that to make the transaction happen. So Zeta Chain is available on testnet. We encourage developers to build, to try it out. We're doing our best to make sure that our developer onboarding is as smooth as possible. I encourage you to check out our documentation. There are tutorials that literally take not more than an hour to complete, and you'll have an omni-chain dApp. You would really be surprised how easy it is and how quickly you can get from zero to building your own omni-chain dApp that is interoperable with all the chains Zeta Chain supports. You have all the tooling you need, including explorers with cross-chain transaction tracking, everything you need. Everything is open source, so if you go to github/zeta-chain, you can check out all examples, tutorials, of course the source code of the node itself, both the node and the program that runs to watch connected chains. Everything is open source, and we're starting to get, we open source quite recently, and we're starting to get contributions from developers externally, which is very, very cool. And we are going to be launching an app that basically features the most important aspects of Zeta Chain when we hit mainnet, called Zeta Hub, and it offers staking, sending tokens, of course, swapping, and everything you want to do on a chain that is built for any hub. So we have a grants program if you're interested, if you're a developer, check it out, apply and get funded if you're interested in building cross-chain dApps. Other partners not going to go through the list, but we're open to partnering with dApps who want to become multi-chain. We're hosting hackathons right now. Actually, we have a BTC hackathon ending 29th of September, I think. So it's still time. If you're interested, you can participate in that and get exposure, win a prize, and get funded, and eventually, become a new dApp on Zeta Chain. So thank you so much for your time, and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, so if no more questions, we can, I'll begin the next sessions. Okay, next I will present Mo Dao to give a brief introduction of our community.
大家可以先休息个5分钟，然后我们开始我们今天的 GP 的一个 panel， 然后等会儿有我们的Folios Capital 的这个Jason， 然后Hash Global 的 KK 老板，然后以及经纬的子熙，OP Crypto， 以及还有APCD 吧。对，我们大概5分钟之后去先休息一下，然后大家也比较累了，对。
你们现在太有钱了。
太强了！你们搞那么多拍了，为什么不带我们？
哪个拍呢？
你们搞那么多元素，为什么不带我们？
哎，你们是练套路干啥的？
就 cross train layer work。其实就是 all in one， 就比如说以前 Step， 比如说现在 Solana， 然后又在 BSC， 那其实可以在网上，然后那你就不需要再去看它进行然后那也就是说，比如说你发的资产是Solana的资产，那大家就无论你持有什么资产，你都可以直接
明白。
比如说你是有 Matic， 你是有 BNB， 那你也可以直接去买Solana的东西，需要在swap。我觉得更怎么说，是更像 App Chain 一些，其实主要就是我也是希望能有更多的一个 application。
那你现在是在做负责这个就是生态建设吗？
没有，现在是 global market maker， 是我的 Asia 的 partnerships， 因为亚洲是 Asia 的 partnerships。然后我们还有个同事呢，也是然后他就是帮我 listing， 所以他之前是在我们他在帮我做这个 listing 啊，
挺好，这个比在基金打工强多了。
我觉得比之前好，真的。我当时本来就都已经谈完了，然后后来在决定的时候，然后
跟刘启谈完。
然后后来跟那个聊了一下，然后后来就还一起下来。
我的待遇上面可能有差距，我觉得我太了解这个所谓的商业区了，为爱发电的，对吧？对，然后那个我觉得可能 Folius 可能稍微好一点点，我也不知道有。
因为他们人少。
对。
我当时是这样，这个快，后来想要一个那个 Folius， 但因为他们只放国内，长期的。
是我觉得看，我现在想法有些变化。我觉得说，就你选择跟什么样的人长期的不断的发生关系。
对，这个是吧？
对，就是国内的人其实国内人他的赚钱的一些方式，跟西方世界也有不一样。你可能觉得他们现在比较受限于聊，比较受限于聊，但是呢。还有他财富的，然后而且你真的能跟他交上朋友，所以我觉得也。
你跟谁交上朋友？啊，你说跟中国的项目方？
你们有非常深刻的这个长期的关系的这个积累。当然这是我的这个想法，所以我觉得现在我反而会回过头来去看亚洲，回过头来去看这个亚洲的这些人。像那个波，Matrix 那个创始人，就是我们就回顾 Matrix 那个科技游戏。
哎 ，Hello， 大家可以就是有兴趣，我们下一个关于 GP 的一些panel 我们可以就做，然后我们可以马上开始下一个 panel。对，然后最后会有一个 social 的环节给大家一起 social。
大家自己人赚钱，自己在跟人游戏这样的。Sorry， 谢谢，我他妈太饿了，我要吃点东西。
我们下一个那个 session 马上要开始了，请大家到前面来就坐一下。等会儿会有一个这个networking 环节，请大家先在前面。 们下一个这个圆桌讨论的环节就要开始了。然后这一轮的话，我们的这个讨论的嘉宾有 KK 是 HP Global 的 founder， 然后 Jonah 是 J Square co-founder 和 CEO Jason， Forbes Ventures 的 founder， 然后 David 是这个 OP Crypto 的 founder 和 GP。然后这一轮呢，我们会由子熙来去全场的去问我们这些嘉宾这些问题。好，欢迎。
谢谢。对，就非常感谢各位到场啊。然后我们这场活动可能就用中文来进行了，对，然后因为最近大家确实也很忙啊，然后各位 GP 老板们的身体也出现点状况，太辛苦了，对，所以就人员变化上可能有一个调整。然后我们这次的 panel 也可能会变得更 easy 一点吧，就不再会以问问题为主了。所以我觉得最开始的话，要不还是让大家先来简单介绍一下自己的情况，对，要不就先从
我先开始。首先特别感谢大家，然后能来我们 OP Crypto 和 Chainbase， 然后包括 Data Chain 以及 Moda 合办的这个 Iris Build the Futures 这个活动。那 Iris Build the Futures 本身也是我们 OP Crypto最近我们新的一些 mission， 就是我们希望能帮cross builders， 然后能打通中间，帮助一些中文的东方的一些项目方去到西方，然后呢把一些西方的前沿的一些企业带到中方来。然后我们 OP Crypto 是21年成立，然后我们在管的规模接近是目前是8000万美金，然后主要是投一些pre-seed to seed 阶段的一些一级投资机会，然后我们主要的 LP 都在北美，然后呢非常也关注一些主要关注就是 customer facing 的一些 infra， 然后也希望目前是在积极出手，也希望有兴趣的朋友可以跟我们一起去合作，然后呢我们去 build the future together。
Hello， 大家好我是 Rexy， 然后我今天代替这个 Joanna， 因为她有一些时间原因来不了然后我在J Square 和 DFG 负责投资，然后我们是一家成立比较早的，但 J Square 它是21年成立，用来投一些 early stage 的 VC， 然后我们管理规模大概1.5亿美金，然后去年大概投了2000多万美金左右，然后今年大概投了10几个项目，然后像好一点的像 CFI 类的可能有 CoinList 然后 Infra 也有一些。像今天 co-host 的Data Chain 还有 Chainbase 其实都是我们的 portfolio， 然后我们像还有一些 GameFi 和 NFT， 比如说好的可能像 Patch Penguins 或者对，大概就这些。
大家好，我是 Jason， 我是 Forbes Ventures 的创始人。我们公司成立于2年前，然后我们可能有3个点吧。第一是我们比较注重于亚太区的创业者和项目，那么我们目前投过的项目80%到90%都是来自这个区域，尤其是以华人创业者为主。然后第二，我们是一个1、2级混合的基金。那么在1级上面，我们一般单笔的 check size 是在50万美金到400万美金之间。然后种子轮、A 轮一般可以领投也可以参投。然后第3是来讲，我们比较倾向于那些因为也是人在亚太嘛，可能比较倾向于那些以技术驱动的商业模式。那么可能我们会更多的参与像交易所呀，然后这个 SaaS 这种软件服务呀，又或者是说一些应用类，尤其是 to C 端的产品。那么其中重点包括游戏，大概是这样。
大家好，我是 HashGlobal 的。大家好，我是 HashGlobal 的 KK。我们18年开始投，然后给自己贴了2个标签吧。尤其是在我记得有一段时间，大家好像不太敢投华人的团队了。我们给自己贴2个标签，一个呢，我们重点投华人创业团队；第二个呢，因为我们原来在 Web2领域做投资我们投资人也都是从 Web2过来的， 所以我们投比较关注就是致力于把 Web 2和 Web 3打通或者说融合的这一类项目，大概是这样。
对，我们也简单介绍我们自己的情况吧。其实我们经纬从很早的时候就投 crypto 了，就从17年的时候我们就投了KuCoin，然后还有一些其他的一些交易所吧，对。然后在2021年，其实也是因为政策不是很好，所以我们就暂停了我们 crypto 业务投资。然后在去年年初开始，我们就重新把 crypto 业务做起来了。然后我们在1年半时间里面，我们也投了大概11个项目，1600、1700万美金左右吧。我们还是积极在布局。我们的方向其实还是希望来帮助更多的 Web2 的用户，资金跟开发来进入 Web3吧。对，然后这是我们近期一个情况。对，就我觉得还是非常感谢就各位老板们和基金们的一些介绍。要不就今天时间我也就不根据我们的keynote 来聊了，对，就直接来聊一些比较深度的一些话题了。就我还是比较希望听听就是各位嘉宾们其实自己目前在深入在做的一个事情，在看的一个方向吧。对，要不就先让 KK 老板先来。对。
好的，那个因为 Web 3的方向上面呢，我们的确也都投但的确有些比较擅长，有些不擅长。我觉得大家看的赛道呢，可能有些基本上都是一样的我想重点讲一个观点是什么呢？我其实是倾向于我们今年开始，我们想多投一点应用因为有一点好像觉得。我们想重点投应用那应用呢，我们也看几个方向但我们比较有一点可能不太一样的是，我们现在可能会考虑去看联盟链上面展开的应用我知道这个不太符合主流观点和主流品味但是我们有一点点等不及了，我们觉得等了好多年没有等到特别大的这个 mass adoption 的这个应用。那我觉得，与其5年以后去和 Web 2的朋友们说，那这是一个很伟大的 Web 3应用，我们希望在联盟链上就可以证明给他们看，这个是一个 mass adoption 的这个应用，而且用户体验比你们原来的 Web 2应用好，这个是我们关注的一个方向。
我们可能也和 K 老板比较类似吧，因为我们可能创立之初的一个想法是说，亚太有着非常高的to C 端工程师红利，然后这群随着中国互联网发展过来的人群，可能有种种各种各样的原因吧，然后不得不去寻找一个方向，然后刚好这个 Web 3的价值网络很适合他们把一些功能集成到他们的产品当中。那么恰好这个行业又是基础设施到了一个阶段是gas fee 足够便宜，然后法律授信足够简单。那么就可以去做一些很有趣的产品，而且它们变现的速度会比过往快很多。根据这个思路，我们第2季度应该是我们成立以来最忙的一个季度，然后我们也布局了很多传统意义上可能是可以达到比较高 DAU 体量，然后市场氛围足够大的这么一些应用端的产品。那么未来可能也会继续在这个方向上不断去投的。
其实我们也有一个类似的观点，就是虽然我们所有赛道都投，但是其实整体更看每一个项目的在某个区域性市场的这个 go to market 的情况。比如说像，其实我们可能没有，就是虽然也是想找这个 mass adoption， 但是没有投到某个具体应用上。但是我们可能通过一些其他方式，比如说投一些 outlier one， 这是我们非常在乎的，就是因为你在一级市场你要找一个价格低估的可能性嘛，对，你在 primary market， 你要找这种估值比较低，或者它天花板比较高，或者它在某一个区域身上，比如说可能在韩国 Terra 就特别好，对吧？可能我们有一些新的 portfolio， 我们认为它在可能比如像沙点，它在印度做分片链。然后像 Oasis 在日本去做，对，所以它其实也是在专注于用户角度上，包括这些 App Chain， 其实我们也想就看看这些从 Layer 1的角度来看，能不能上面跑出一些某个应用代表的，对，其实我们也是比较专注于想从用户这一块
开始看。对，我这边也 share 一下，就是我们 OP 的一些 thesis 吧。对我们最近我们也梳理了一下，我们2季度大概有投7个项目。那我们觉得比较能总结出来的一些观点就是说，我们喜欢非常努力的，非常去善于去使用一些前沿科技的一些团队，比如说刚刚发布 V2 的这个 Particle， 那它去结合一些intent， 包括呢去做这个 intent fusion protocol， 去做钱包的 access network， 那包括像 MyShield， 对吧？它可以在3月初去用AI 的技术去把它和 Web3 结合起来，然后能找到很好的用力。这个是我觉得在当时的一些 use case 中很稀缺的一些品质。那未来我们也会继续去尽量去好好支持一些比较优秀的能足够运用好 front-end technology 的一些华人团队。那具体的一些细分赛道的话，其实我觉得其实无所谓，只要是你能够卷的话，你都能卷出来。
可以，我也在顺带表达一下我们的观点吧。其实我们近期半年看到了大量在用 Web3 的这个或者说 Crypto Blockchain 技术，然后来革新 Web2 的一个商业模式吧。对，在这点上我们其实还比较兴奋啊，但我们也感到很悲观的一点，其实就是在一些传统的领域，由于利益分配其实已经过于稳定，然后这个前面你要打破的障碍它可能已经太大了，以至于你一个新的范畴它是没有办法来打破的。我们举一个最简单的一个例子啊，其实说在做 NFT ticketing 这个事情，就是你举例啊，就买票对吧？就今天我买了周杰伦的票对吧？然后我要在二级市场上出手，因为我可能没有时间对吧？我可能只买到了一张，我想跟我的女朋友去看对吧？可能都没有时间，我就想把这张票出了。那请问这个时候怎么做？那其实就是把在闲鱼上卖对吧？但在闲鱼上卖的话，又会有另外一种可能，就是我把这个二维码截图出去给别人对吧？我可以截10份，我可以截20份出去，对吧？即使你只是说20%、30%的一个预收费，我发给10个人，我发给20个人，对吧？那我作为一个卖票的，我肯定赚了很多钱。但是买票那些人的信任问题，其实我觉得也是需要解决的。那这个问题其实对 Web2 公司来说，那如果大麦网对吧，他愿意用 NFT 来做票，对吧？来卖周杰伦的票，那我觉得可能又存在另外一个问题，对吧？就可能在大麦网里1万张周杰伦票，可能其实只有1000张在卖，9000张其实可能都是通过黄牛在二级市场上的溢价，然后大麦网明星跟这个黄牛3方来分红，对吧？那如果你把它往链上一做，其实就是当然你在链上你也可以向3方来谈溢价，但其实就会让你这个公司的吃相变难看了，对吧？那在这种情况下呢，其实就变成如果你用区块链的技术，是用户的体验得到了改变。但是你的公司的利益可能也没有变，明星的利益可能没有变，但是可能会让你的吃相变得难看，然后可能也会给他们带来额外的技术负担，对吧？所以我们觉得在这种传统领域里面，我们觉得用 Web3 的技术可能还是相对比较难调整一点的，对。所以我觉得在应用领域里面，就我也很想听听，就是各位 CP 各位嘉宾们，在应用领域，你们觉得哪个方面可能会有更有一个突破呢？因为 Web3 的技术，其实我刚刚举的例可能就是更类似于 ticketing 这个例子，对吧？要不就先从 KK 对。
因为这个事儿呢，还真的是我们特别想去孵化做的产品啊，就是我们跟很多粉丝聊过啊，就像刚才子熙说的，就是说其实 Web2 里面的有一些痛点大家都知道，比如说真正的粉丝买不到票，买到票以后你二手转让很麻烦，而且很容易上当受骗。我问过一个粉丝，他买了就是最近的 Blackpink 在首尔的那个演唱会的票，8000块钱，他们互相之间买方和卖方就互相希望对方不要毁约，说什么拉钩，大家不要毁约，是一种非常就是你会觉得很奇怪，就是怎么在这样的互联网经济下还有这样的这种交易方式？但是其实我觉得我们不需要什么技术上的突破的，我是说在国内我觉得有可能大家会看到一个中国特色的 Web3。但它真的是Web3，它没有 crypto， 但是我们中国政府是很 pro blockchain 的。 我最近看到一个采访很有意思，就是原来南华早报的 CEO Gary 刘接受美国的一个 crypto KOL 的采访。他说他认为中国政府是非常 pro blockchain 的，然后那个女主持就哈哈的笑，他说这怎么可能，对吧？然后他说他们是基于联盟链做，然后女主持又很开心的哈哈的笑。他说那不就是 centralized 吗 ？centralized 还怎么叫 Web3 呢？那我觉得 Gary 刘，我觉得他回答的不是太好啊，我自己觉得他回答的不是太好啊。但事实上我想说，那当我们在以太坊上面走到 Layer 3、Layer 4的时候，那这个 centralized 的这个 risk 你们怎么解决，对吧？其实是不同的技术路线。我只是想说，现阶段我就想给大家看到。Web3 的商业模式可以解决 Web2 的一些问题，即使它是基于联盟链做的，但它是 Web3 的商业模式。当这么多的 Web2 的用户，他真的觉得，哎，这个应用和原来的应用不一样了，我买票卖票很方便，我要做二手转让也很方便，他根本不 care 这个是 Layer 3还是联盟链，但这是一个 Web3 的商业模式。我自己觉得不需要做什么技术突破了，在中国现在马上就可以把这个事情给解决掉。不一定是我们孵化的团队去解决的，但可能一定会有很多的团队能够把这事情解决掉，因为这个痛点是在那里的，而且你基于联盟链做的话，你有全网通用的 ID， 你就用手机号码，这个你有链上地址这个卖票的人也有他的利益，然后不存在就是刚才子熙说的那么麻烦的那些问题。
如果是跑在怎么说呢？如果是跑在一个公有链上，那就它的最后的打法可能跟联盟有一点不一样。然后联盟链上可能也很难去跑出那些技术属性特别强的，甚至是中国政府不被允许的那些应用。所以他们可能两个方向是南辕北辙，然后联盟链的那个效率极度的高。如果是作为一个应用，就比如说一个特别牛逼的中国团队，对吧？然后说我要搞Web3，然后出来很搞。我的观点一直是说，我们有3个核心元素，这个东西必须得某种程度上具备。然后你要说，我一上来就说你应该怎么做，那是不行的，我只能是看到它。那么我看到的是什么有趣呢？第一，这个东西它一定是极大规模的使用了一个离岸的美元。它使用的这个美元，它可能或者不可能解决最后1英里法币出入境的问题，但是一旦这个美元上链了，那么这个产品突然间就变得特别的好使。当然这个可能类博彩型的项目是其一吧，当然还有很多其他的子品类。那么这个品类会因为Web3 上的原生离岸美元的存在而极大的获益。那么第二个方面，我觉得现在互联网本身获取流量和眼球的成本非常高。尤其是那些需要规模和网络效应的产品，无论是社交也好，还是说一个强 PVP 的这么一些游戏产品也好，就是对吧？老大透过以前砸了很多钱占了个坑，那么玩家完全没有原因去换一个产品，那么可能产品本身设计的成本是1000万美元，但是砸市场做到规模效应的成本是1亿美元，那没人搞这个事情。那么因为 Web3 本身强烈的金融属性，可能透过一些非常巧妙机制的设计，可以让现金获取用户的成本极大的降低。那可能你不花钱，不花现金，对吧？但是你透过一个巧妙的金融游戏，在6个月之内取得了一大批用户。这又是可能是用 Web3 特别有趣的一个点。那么无论是过去的 Stephen 还是现在的 Frontech， 都在这个点上打得非常的精巧。那么最后又回到一个核心问题，就是说这玩意儿是不是庞氏，对吧？这庞氏你怎么去夯实它呢？这很快就原来挂了。那么最后一个点就是，它还是得回到一个消费品或者说一个产品的本质，就是人们会因为什么原因不为投资的为这个东西花钱。那在这些产品上，你去在上面去做更加烈度更高的寻租，而且把它回馈到帮助你产品成长的这么一些用户们。我觉得也是一个可能 Web3 能够做到第3个方式。但是这三个东西，其实你们看到说离岸法币，咱们先不说，后2个点，它其实不是一个技术问题，它是一个政治问题。 它是一个怎么分配先来后到，就是现金流过去现在的问题。那么这个问题它是有可能没有解决方案，但更多来讲，它是可能我们要不断的去试错，对吧？站在前人肩膀上，不断的去，就是你往拉了很多人头，怎么样去奖励你？这个问题我觉得只能透过一代一代的这么一个 iteration， 然后最终可能形成一个 playbook。那么那个时候可能就是一大堆公司手脚。我说完了。
我觉得可以继Jason 哥上面讲的这个，但你递到第3步的时候，其实就已经变成了消费品，就你需要有纯粹的消费行为，可能说比如说在线下的一些实体的，那其实我们可以看到，就我还是蛮相信就链下世界的这个破圈的这个本质的，就是可能你到不管是我们。
要不就不用麦克风，我觉得你应该吼大点。我有点累。要不先要我先讲。要不你用我的麦。这就是这可能是影响的。对，要不你去大一些就行了啊。
好，我刚才想说就是继Jason讲的这个，我觉得到第3步可能到消费品的时候，比如说我们今天我现在做了一排的玩具，然后每一个参加活动的人都可以领这一个玩具，然后你扫上面玩具的2维码，就可以进入到重新新的一个 app， 然后你在新的 app 里可以去做广告啊，你可以去做游戏啊，可以做 financial game 啊，各种各样的东西。我觉得这也算是能改变，能通过一些小 app 来去改变之外的一个做不到的东西。我是想说这些。
对，我觉得前面几位老板们已经总结得很好了。我觉得已经能把一个 APP 怎么做法都说好了。对。但我觉得就是说，最近不是有声音就是讨论这个 infra 和 APP 这个也是应用层嘛，就是该做什么。其实我觉得就是。最近有一个想法，就是也是看了，就是一个那个 Andy 吧，好像是就是这个 AWS 这个创始人说的，就是他说每一个 scaling 的量级，就是这个 process 都会被 break even，就是说你从10到100，100到1000，就你的过往的经验都是可复用的。然后那个谷歌的 CEO 也是说，就是你增长经验的这个办法是本身是没有办法去使用一个压缩算法去实现的。所以说，当我们可以看到，就是在链上有一个 DAU 1000万量级的一个应用的时候，我觉得可能这个产品本身是没有什么经验可以给我们去复用的。所以说，我觉得能总结出来的方法就是我们就只能在那，就我们尽量去保持 close to monitoring 这个事儿就是这样。
我补充一下啊，就是大家千万拜托不要把我们 HashGlobal 贴标签贴成说 HashGlobal 是投联盟链的微信公司，真的不是。我们肯定是90%的钱或者说资源会投在供链上面啊，但我们只是希望看到 Web3 的应用出来。那这个应用呢，我们的观点是我们希望，哪怕你是在联盟链上，我也希望你用户开始用地址了。你不是在用一个公司封闭的数据库展开的一个应用，你是基于一个公共的一个数据库，哪怕这个数据库是在一个私有链，是在蚂蚁链上，但我们认为这已经往前走一步了，因为这个数据库它不可以随便改了，它的规则已经定好了，哪怕它停止。哪怕他今天他说，我宕机了，明天再恢复，也是个进步。为什么呢？他这个数据拿出来了，而且这个在中国大家知道，这个其实是符合国家的这个数据监管需求的。1，没有怕什么；2，政府的可控性更强了；3，数据局再也不用问腾讯、问阿里需要数据，而且要不到。我们希望是看到，就是说，至少我能跟我们的那些 Web2 的朋友们。说，你看这个 Web3 应用体验比你还好，粉丝还喜欢，粉丝们根本不 care 这是一个什么东西，他只觉得， 好像现在的 APP 变得更友好了，我的东西从小红书可以带到抖音了，他也不管你这是真的 Web 2的小红书还是 Web 3的抖音，他只是发现这东西变好了，这个其实就是 Web 3的商业模式。那我们希望最后看到真正的 Web 3的商业应用，它可能有一部分在联盟链上，有一部分在公链上，有一部分在 Layer 2、Layer 3上面，用户已经非常习惯这个东西了。然后这个时候，我们大家都会看到，这个东西如果有了 crypto， 有了 Web 3 currency， 有了稳定币，原来这个互联网这么厉害啊！所以说大家千万不要给我们这次拍的完了以后给我们贴一个标签说 Hashglobal 是投联盟链的，真的不是，真的不是。我们只是希望我们等着值了，我们不想我已经很累了，去跟很多人去解释 Web 3的伟大。那好，我们就在联盟链上面。中国有这么多的互联网人口，这么多的开发人才，为什么不干呢？对吧？那还有很多优秀的团队在公链上干，也非常棒啊，对吧？
对，就非常谢谢各位老板啊！就其实我们也觉得一点啊，这个实用主义其实也是我们非常追求的一点啊。对，然后最后还有5分钟时间吧，然后因为老板们还要赶飞机，所以就不太耽误大家时间。最后一个问题就是承接上面的问题啊，我们刚刚讲这么多，不管说 Web 3应用还是说怎么样，对吧？就你们觉得一个理想的能够做的 mass adoption 的应用可能会是哪个方向的，对吧？我觉得我先开个头啊，我希望这个方向可能更多的就是真的是帮助第3世界的国家的人，不管说是支付或者说是获得收入，对吧？我相信这对于 Web 3就第3世界国家人来说会是一个巨大的突破，对吧？他们再也不用来考虑一些法币的一些薄弱金融基础设施的一些虚弱，没有办法来转账，没有办法获得一个稳定的一个法币，对吧？所以我倒是觉得在支付端还有在获得稳定的收入端，对于第3世界的用户国家来说是一个巨大的提升，这可能是我觉得希望的一个 mass adoption 吧。对，要不从 Michael 先开始。
你这是1点关快顺第4啊。我觉得就是我刚刚跟那个 Skoll 的这个叶神聊了一下，他给我了一些新的思路，就是在非洲啊，他去非洲转了一圈，就是说非洲的一个金融体系是一个非常非常崩溃的一个体系，就是你每个国家之间的汇率是不一样，然后呢，一个公司不同国家之间是无法转账的，就是一个公司不同的国家的这个金融主体，然后那账户是没法转账的，然后呢每个国家的这个美金拍卖是有额度的。然后呢，你抢不到拍卖额度呢，你就只能去黑市买美金，然后这个美金这个汇率是每天不变的，所以说你可以看到就是在非洲币安的这个使用率，包括每一个这个 inflation rate 特别高的一些国家，币安的使用率是非常高的。所以我们觉得，既然 Web 3的本身还是一个 fintech， 我们觉得如果说在这个层面上来讲，我们说未来支付端其实是一个伟大的支付应用，包括整个的一个支付体系，还是有一个非常长的路要走，包括去解决一些developing country 的一些问题。对，我大概就分享这些。
我先来。你好。我是比较赞同说稳定币这个东西是非常锐利的，因为它在手机可以帮助任何人直接穿透任何一个国家的外汇屏障，然后直接触达所有英语，所以但凡是一个链上的这种e-commerce可以诞生的话，它其实已经冲破了任何国家的税基，基本上把你的法币打一把就找到，如果可以做到的话，然后另外一个如果是真正纯粹应用方向的话，我觉得作为我来讲，我的认知没那么高，我只能是看到所以才相信。然后我现在比较纠结的点是说，其实是2个东西。第一是如果你真的是用了一个Web 3的拉新模式，最终这个模式你等于是支付债务，就是说任何你用这个模式拉新，你是对他们是有欠债的。这个最后的东西的夯实的现金流来自于哪里？那么我感觉大概率是消费。那么这个消费的场景究竟是什么呢？是买枪械皮肤吗？就是让自己更好看吗？是这个广告商愿意为这个注意力付费吗？还是什么呢？就大概率可能是这2个方向吧。 那么我觉得在这个方面如果能够有一个很清晰的答案，那么一个 box 就可以 check 到了。然后另外一个方向是说，如果你真的是愿意把自己公司的股权以币权的方式给予这个代币持有人，然后让他们帮助你的公司去成长，无可避免会面临到说早期的参与者坐在后来的参与者上什么都不干，然后直接学做问题。那么如何去鞭策这一个过程当中所有的参与者继续的去投入，继续的去帮助这个生态去发展，同时又不 overcompensate，我觉得也是一个很复杂的这么一个政治问题。那么我觉得只能慢慢的去解决。如果这两个解决的话，我觉得会有很多很有趣的 consumer app 跑出来，但是我不知道答案是什么。
我可能今天就是只是讲了一个问题啊，因为我们觉得就是最大的应用呢，一个呢，既然我们在看应用了啊，我们不谈基础设施了，假设啊，就是我们希望是这个用户体验一定是比以前更好的。第二啊，就像经纬这边也在思考问题一样，我们能不能解决原来 Web2 商业模式它不愿意解决的问题，不是它不能解决。是他的商业模式决定了他不愿意解决。大麦网，我们问过电影行业的基本上所有的整个上下游，我甚至跟猫眼的前面两位离开的两位创始人都聊过。整个行业没有人喜欢猫眼的跑来跑去，我不知道下面有没有人。整个行业从发行公司、内容制作公司、导演，甚至国家电影出版总社啊，就是那个因为国家要收税，50%的税后来也取消了。粉丝、电影迷啊，包括我是一个电影迷，没有人喜欢淘拍拍。你一个好的纪录片，你都没办法真正的推销这个卖给你真正爱看的观众，因为他把这个线上发行的这个资源垄断了。所以我们要解决这个问题。我一点都不在乎跟那个大的电影厂说这个我们要用 Web3 的技术解决这个问题，为什么呢？他做不了，他一做就把自己给革命了。他怎么会跟自己过不去呢？所以我们希望看到的是真正能够解决 Web2 商业模式的问题。我不管你是用联盟链，还是用 Layer 2、Layer 3，还是应用链，还是一个超级牛逼的这个 Layer 1，我先把这个事给做了。这个事儿，而且不需要用户投，真的不需要用户投，你就用 SaaS 服务提供，你把数据开放出来。我们希望看到的一个应用就是在这个领域，我们觉得这个一定会有团队做出来的。现在，因为为什么呢？我提醒大家一点啊，中国的确现在不可以发币，但是 NFT 可以 ，NFT 可以，然后方介博不可以，方介博不可以，方介博不可以，囊方介博不可以，可发行可作为二手电商产品进行交易。这是可以的。工信部的那个，大家可以去看一下业务批文里面，业务范围里面有一条 NFT， 它不是写的数字产品，写的是 NFT 啊。而且大家记住一点，为什么我们有信心这个事情一定会发生？这个是符合国家利益的，它是政治正确的。我就说到这儿。
好，非常感谢各位老板们啊，对，因为大家都还有事，我们就不耽误后面的进程，对，就非常感谢大家。好，就非常感谢各位大家的这个参与。
对，我们接下来是Scroll 的 co-founder 张烨，然后给我们分享一下就是在最近的一些见闻吧，以及包括 Scroll 下一步动态。
哎，你好，哎，哦，你是那个。哦，
Hello，大家好，然后我叫张烨，然后是 Flow 的co-founder，然后
下一个那个 keynote speech 要开始了，请大家回到座位上。等一下我们会有那个 networking 的时间，请大家先就是坐在位置上，然后我们可以开始下一个环节。
OK， 好，今天主要就介绍一下，就是其实它不是一个非常 technical 的 talk， 就我之前给的大部分 talk 都是非常 tech， 因为我个人是做 ZK、做密码学、做数学这些地方。然后这次的 talk 其实主要更多还是介绍一些 Flow 背后的一些故事，就它的过去、它的现在以及它将来可能前进的一个方向。然后，所以我们先从过去开始。然后这个 slide 更像是一个 story， 它不是一个就是我一定要去向大家 sell Flow， 而是说就是介绍一下 Flow 背后从一路发展过来的整个历程。然后先从过去开始，就是最初的时候，我们其实 Flow 最开始的时候是我们是一群工程师，然后一群做 ZK 的 researcher， 然后我们一直在研究 zero-knowledge proof 这个 technology。然后 ZK 这个技术呢，它可以做一些非常神奇的事情，就是说它可以把一个任意大小的 program 压成一个非常小的 proof， 也就是说你不需要执行很大的一个 program， 你就可以知道这个 program 的执行结果是对的。然后这个程序可以非常非常的复杂，比如说它可以在 Amazon， 可以在 Google， 可以在云上跑很长的时间，但是你可以在毫秒以内验证一个计算是对的。就想象一下，比如说一个计算，你需要比如说自己运行，可能要好几天的时间，然后这时候你把计算交给了你的一个朋友，然后你的朋友呢去运行这个计算，然后给你一个结果，然后这时候你不相信这个结果，因为你没有自己亲自算这个计算，你的朋友可能只是随机的给了你一个结果。然后零知证明可以让所有的计算被验证，所以这个是我们最初的想法，就是说，我们意识到了零知证明是一个非常厉害的一些技术，然后我们希望用这个技术去解决一些 real world problem。然后这时候我们就会发现，就是零知证明听起来很像 magic， 但是它有一个巨大的问题，就是说，零知证明在使用的过程里面，它的 proving 的 overhead 相当大。就想象一下，我一个程序本身只需要执行，比如说1个小时，但是为了给这个程序生成证明，我需要跑好几天的时间。然后这时候我们发现 proving time 是一个巨大的 bottleneck， 所以我们希望 build 一个更快的 prover。所以我们有大量的 research， 比如说我们从 ASIC， 然后我们从 GPU， 然后从各个角度去 improve prover 的 efficiency， 包括我们第一篇就是 Flow 大概在2年前在 research 上。就是从今天 post 开始的，我们 post 了一篇就是 introduce Flow， 然后它是一个 layer 2 solution， 然后我们大概的一个方向，然后Vitalik 有回复，然后我们有一些讨论，就说 Flow 到底是要做一个什么样的 approach， 然后我们通过提升 ZK 的效率，然后可以去更快的生成 proof。然后在做了很多的 research 以后呢，我们意识到其实用同样的技术，我们可以做一些更 ambitious 的事情，就是说可以把以太坊整个的交易直接拿过来，然后进行压缩，然后生成 proof。所以这就是有了 ZK-EVM 最初的一个想法，就是 ZK-EVM 其实在3年前，可能在大家刚接触 blockchain 的时候，其实都不存在。然后其实是最近2年，然后逐渐的去被 Vitalik 被主流的以太坊社区，然后逐渐提起，是因为之前 Proof 的效率很低，然后我们最初的时候 motivation 就是解决这个问题，然后能够 scale EVM， 能够把 EVM 通过一个 Proof 来证明出来。所以这个就是最初的 story， 就是 Flow 其实是完全是一个被 tech driven、被 research driven， 我们想解决这样一个问题的一个公司。然后接下来我们就开始 build， 然后就是从第一天开始，我们跟以太坊的 ZK Group 一起合作，然后并且是以完全开源的方式，就这个和其他的其实公司或者说 build 产品的方式完全不一样。可能大多数的公司更喜欢我们去闭源，然后去迭代自己的产品，然后某一天开源或者不开源，因为我只要做好产品就够了。但是我们是非常的相信以太坊所谓相信的东西，就是 fully 开源 ，fully community driven。所以从第一天开始，我们基本上就跟以太坊的 ZK team 就一起合作这个项目。然后接下来的话呢，整个社区开始慢慢的 grow， 就是有越来越多的开源的贡献者进入了我们的社区，然后一起去跟我们一起去 build 同一个 ZK-EVM。然后接下来的话呢，我们去举办了大量的，比如说 workshop， 然后越来越多社区人开始在我们的这个 Proof Stack 上 build 一些我们没有想象过的事情。就有点像最初以太坊，威神可能在 build 以太坊的时候，更多是希望以太坊只是一个 programmable 的一个 Bitcoin， 但是他没有想象到之后会有人 build DeFi， 会有人 build Layer 2， 会有人 build 很多完全想象不到的一些事情。然后这个是我们也意想不到的，就通过这种社区发展的方式，越来越多人参与到了里面，然后并且 build 了很多很复杂的一些 很复杂的一些模块。这个就是我们最初的开始的一个故事，就是我们最初是一些很有热情、很希望解决以太坊问题的一些人，然后我们对开源充满了信仰，然后我们希望能通过 build 一个非常好的一个 zk EVM 去解决 scalability 的 problem。然后这个就是我们的一个，我用了一个比喻，就是一个类似于播种一样的东西，就是一堆 open source 的一些信仰者，然后聚在一起，然后想 build 一个 technology。然后接下来的话，我可以介绍一下，简单介绍 Scroll 在 build 什么事情。就是我们基本上过去的2年一直在 focus on build 一件事情，就是 build 一个好用的一个 layer 2。然后 layer 2是什么呢？就是你可以想象到以太坊每15秒就会出一个块，然后每个 block 都是30个 million 或者多少 gas。然后 Scroll 其实是一个更快、更便宜，然后吞吐量更大的一个以太坊。然后你可以看到我们出块出的非常的快，然后在出块一段时间以后，我们会把数据传回给以太坊，然后再过一段时间以后，我们会把 proof 就是证明我们这些块是有效的，然后把 proof 上传给以太坊，在以太坊上做验证。这样的话，我们的安全性是完全依赖于以太坊，然后但是可以比以太坊做得更快更便宜，因为你是通过 proof 验证的，而不是每个节点重新执行这些交易。然后如果说你是只是一个 user 或者 developer 而言的话，你可以想象成 Flow 就是以太坊，但是更快、更安全，然后吞吐量更高。然后对于开发者而言，你的开发体验非常的简单。如果你在以太坊已经部署过应用的话，你只要把你的代码 copy 过来，然后 paste 过去，然后直接 deploy 就可以用。然后所有的合约、所有的开发者工具都是可以直接用的，比如说 Hardhat， 比如说 Foundry、Remix， 这些你在以太坊上能用的一些工具，全部都可以在 Scroll 上直接用，所以提供了一种非常好的 user 和 developer experience。然后过去的2年，我们也取得了一定的成就。我们从去年的8月份开始，我们 launch 了第一个 Pre-Alpha Testnet。然后当时是有一个 drama， 就是谁是第一个 zk EVM， 就是因为大家都是在这一个时间 launch 的，就在比较谁是第一个。然后我们觉得我们还是第一个，就是因为我们是第一个 announce， 就尽管当时还是有很多不完整的地方，但是确实是第一个 testnet。然后我们处理了大概有1600万 transaction， 然后有40万的地址。然后有很多的合约，就是大家去 play with our testnet。然后今年2月份的时候，我们 launch 了第2版 testnet， 在 early 的 testnet 上，我们有大概处理了4900万的交易，然后大概有3.7万的370万的 wallet address。然后终于我们在大概是上个月8月份的时候 launch 了我们最后一版的测试网，也是我们上主网前的最后一版的测试网。然后在 Sequoia 上，因为 early 之后会被关掉，所以我们在 Sequoia 上 deploy 我们最后的测试网。然后这个，所以的话，我们其实基本上从22年的8月到现在，基本上整个测试网整个技术 stack 已经 battle test 了1整年。然后我们是很有信心，在接下来很快的时间就要 launch 我们最后的主网。然后这个是我们更新的架构，我们更新了很多新的事情，就是我们有很多层的 proof。然后我们为了提升我们是第一个支持push 0，然后支持 parent 这样的一些 pre-compiled。然后这是我们的 beta testnet。然后我们其实为了主网上线做了非常多的努力，不光是技术上面，而且还有安全上面。就我们基本上花了上百万的美金在我们整个链的审计。比如说有 OpenZapLink， 就是他们提出了 ERC20的这个 standard， 我们基本上找了最好的审计公司去帮我们做审计，花了上百万美金。然后我们 team 里面还有红白 team， 专门去 attack 我们的测试网，尝试构造一些坏交易，来看是不是能把我们给搞垮。然后同时的话，我们还把所有的 transaction， 比如说 Ethereum 的 transaction、BSA transaction、Polygon transaction， 所有的链的 transaction 拿过来，在我们的测试环境下 replay， 来确保我们是 battle tested。然后我们还发了一些 grant 给一些 fortification， 来去提升我们 zk EVM 的安全性。然后这个其实就是一个种子生根发芽的一个过程。就是在过去的2年，我们基本上一直在 build， 一直在 ship。然后我们的测试网经历了1年的测试，然后从 pre-alpha 到 alpha 以及最后的 beta。然后我们一直很重视整个网络的安全性，所以我们一直是希望 build 一个最 trustworthy 的一个 system。然后接下来这是过去我们所有发生的事情，就是从最初的一帮人做技术，然后到搭建了一个测试网，然后到 secure 审计，然后其实我都在讲一个过去我们技术在做的事情。然后我可以聊聊我们现在的一些进展，就是在我们开发技术的过程里面，我们意识到了很多不一样的点。就是说，其实我们最初的时候只是想做一个技术，只是想做一个好用的一个 Layer 2的平台，然后去 scale 以太坊，只是做一个 technical 的平台。但是其实在我们发展我们整个链的过程中，我们意识到了很多不一样的点。 就是说，其实 blockchain 和整个 Web 2的 philosophy 很不一样。就 Web 2，比如说 Google， 比如说 Amazon， 它是 provide some service， 就是你可以用它，但是永远不是 part of Google，part of Amazon。整个区块链的 philosophy 一个很重要的点就是 community， 你是需要每个 community 里面的 member 是需要 feel part of it，它是需要有对你链的一个 ownership。然后，所以我们意识到了以太坊有一个非常强、非常 resilient 的社区，就是因为他们有共同的信仰，就大家都相信 decentralization， 相信 security， 相信这些以太坊所相信的价值。所以我们觉得，就是其实你要 build 一个非常 solid 的 community foundation， 你是需要最初吸引一些人，他们相信你的价值，然后并且坚持这些价值。然后第二个事情的话，就是说，以太坊经常形容它的生态，就是这是一个非常特殊的一个形容的方法，就是Ethereum ecosystem 是一个 infinite garden。什么是 infinite garden 呢？就是说，它是一个就沿用他们原来的话，就是说 Ethereum ecosystem is too great to be predicted。就是说，在以太坊开始的过程里面，它是没有办法 predict 说以太坊的生态会向哪里发展的。所以他们觉得他们在做一个 garden， 这 garden 里面成长出来什么他们不知道，但他们能做的事情就是持续的去灌溉，持续的去做好一个 gardener 应该做的事情。然后这里面也包含了，就是说你不能 pick up 这个 garden 里面的哪个 flower 是你最喜欢的那个 flower， 因为你希望一个 provide 一个非常公平的一个环境，让这些花朵去成长。然后一个很直接的例子就是说，以太坊如果在5年前意识到他自己不能 scale， 他其实可以自己亲自下场做一套 layer 2， 然后去 scale 他自己。但是他做的事情是说，我做好一个链该做的事情。我觉得每个 layer 2其实都是我花园里面的，比如说一朵花，我希望支持他们所有，而不是说我亲自下场去 compete 为他们。所以他们以太坊永远在玩的不是一个零和游戏，因为零和游戏永远是有输赢的。他们希望玩一个 infinite game， 就是他们 keep 就 adding new base layer 可以提供的一些事情，然后但是他们希望他们的 ecosystem 能提供更多的。自己去开发更多的，比如说 Layer 2， 或者说一些新的一些技术的一些 feature。然后另外一个事情就是说，我们意识到一个点，对，对我另一方面就是说，我们意识到了 blockchain 的 impact 非常的大，这个其实发生在我们在各地开发社区的过程里面，就是其实包括在我开始做 blockchain， 或者在我开始做 blockchain 之前的很长一段时间，大家对 blockchain 的普遍的看法就是你是一个 token 的游戏，你就是拉盘，然后砸盘，然后去不断的有周期，不断去做这样的事情，你并不知道 blockchain 有什么真实的用处，但其实 blockchain 的 impact 远远比我们想象到的要大，因为其实就是上个月，然后我去了一趟非洲，然后在那待了大概10天的时间，然后去了解了一下，就是其实是有很多第三世界国家的人，他们是真实的依赖于 blockchain 去做很多事情的。因为比如说第一个事情就是说 stable coin， 因为他们当地的货币是有非常严重的贬值的。就想象一下，比如说你今天买一个饮料可能10块钱，然后半年以后可能就15块钱，然后你的工资都不涨，然后所以这个对人民的这个生活来说是非常糟糕的，所以他们希望拿美元。但是美国是不能让他们开账户的，所以你是可以通过 USDT 去access到链上的一些资产，access到美元，这个对他们来说很重要。另外一方面就是整个金融的基础设施非常的不健全，就即使相邻的2个国家之间的转账都需要绕一大圈，需要到欧洲到美国，然后才能转过去。然后但是通过 blockchain， 你仅仅做 payment 这一件事情，已经可以让他们非常的受惠。然后还有就是他们不能借钱，比如说你现在在银行里面随便借钱，然后随便有信用卡，但是他们没有信用卡，他们连借100块钱都很难，因为他们没有一个健全的一个 credit system， 然后他们有很多 financial infrastructure， 但是之前没有 trust， 所以他们是不愿意 share 相互的数据的。所以当你 build 了一个 blockchain platform 是可以解决这个问题，因为你 build 了一个 global 的一个 transparent platform， 让提供了一种更好的一些金融的一些基础设施。所以我们为此的话做了很多努力。 就是我们这是意识到了这2点，就是以太坊是基于社区相信的一些价值而培育的，而不是说只是说我给哪个项目钱，哪个项目来我这里，而是真的有一些项目他们相信 blockchain， 相信很多的价值观，比如说他们相信 open， 相信 community driven， 所以我们严格的遵守了以太坊所相信的这些 value， 比如说我们的代码完全开源，然后很难比较 ZKEVM 的 performance， 但是至少我们可以非常有信心的就是说我们的 ZKEVM 是最 community driven 以及最 open。然后我们做了很多 community initiative， 比如说有 contribute score， 然后去激励更多的开源的社区去给我们的代码去给我们贡献代码。然后我们有 ZK Symposium， 然后去办了很多讨论会，能让很多就开发 ZK 的 developer 可以一起去讨论 ZK， 讨论一些更深入的技术，而不是只是 marketing。Hello。OK。然后我们还在各地都培养了很多社区，比如说这个是我们去过的所有的地方，比如说有哥伦比亚、华沙，然后阿根廷，然后这个是我们在非洲做的很多事情，就是做了很多教育，然后做了很多 events， 然后我们在拉美也做了很多 events， 我们甚至 team 里面有很多人只说西班牙语，然后去这些社区去做了很多分享，然后我们还有欧洲，然后北美，然后还有亚洲，所以我们其实是真的在 build 一个非常 global 的一个社区。然后另外我们很坚持，就是作为一个平台，你需要保持中立，然后像 Vitalik 和 Ethereum Foundation 那样，不能去单独的 favor 某一类的 application， 而且我们是最少的去避开 marketing 的 hype。然后这个就是类似于开花，就是我们在开发技术的过程里面意识到了 community 的重要性，所以我们希望 build 一个相信我们 value 的 community， 然后并且把以太坊带到世界的各个角落。然后最后的话就是简单聊一下 future， 就是我们觉得在所有的 Layer 2里面，我们是最希望成为那个 immutable， 然后最有原则，然后的一个 trust layer。因为所有的 Layer 2现在在谈的一个事情，就是说我们希望把下一代的互联网，然后搬到 blockchain 上来，我们希望成为一个 value layer。但我觉得其实 trust layer 是更重要的一个事情，因为你把钱需要放在这里面，你把最重要的身份需要放在 blockchain 里面。所以我们其实放弃了很多的 feature， 为了让自己的系统更安全。为了让自己的系统成为那个最终的 trust layer， 然后另外一件事情就是我们不光在给自己 build， 而且在给以太坊 build。就想象一下以太坊 layer 1 最后假设每一个 block 都有一个 proof， 那将来的话你可以只拿一个 proof 就可以验证以太坊所有的 transaction， 这个是以太坊的终极目标。然后其实我们的 ZKEVM 就是它 part of 它自己的 roadmap， 然后所以这个也是我们坚持一件事情，就是持续帮助以太坊去 build 他们 roadmap 上的一些环节。对，然后最后就是我们是很有 vision， 很有 mission， 我们不仅仅是为我自己 build， 而是希望给以太坊的未来一起 build。然后我们马上就要 launch mainnet， 就是在phase 5这里，因为已经有过3轮 testnet， 就是大家可以期待，真的非常非常快，我们就会 launch 自己的 mainnet。然后最后的话就是，如果大家想加入我们或者尝试测试网的话，可以联系。对。
非常感谢我们对关于这个 Scroll 的演讲。然后下一个环节的话，我们会开始我们的圆桌讨论，请我们的圆桌嘉宾来到前台，他们是 Joy， 是这个 Advisor and Investor at Fondo AI，Ethan Co-founder。
突然被 Q， 我现在被 call
Ethan 是这个 MyShell 的 co-founder， 然后 Michelle 是这个 Xterior 的 CEO，Tyler 是 QuestLab 的 co-founder， 然后最后我们是 Deb 是这个 Ascendant 的 co-founder， 然后我们的圆桌主持人的话会是 James， 他是有Capital 的 investor。好，请我们所有的嘉宾和主持人到前面来，然后我们马上就可以开始我们这个环节了。
不一样，不一样。
喂，好，行，Hello， 欢迎大家来我们这个听我们这个 panel 啊，这个 panel 是关于 AI 和 Web3 结合，然后来参与的项目方应该是都横跨各个赛道，从 infra 到 application layer 都有，然后请大家挨个可以自我介绍一下自己和自己的项目，我们从 Ethan 开始吧。
大家好，我是 Ethan， 然后 MyShell co-founder。我们现在在做一个就是创作者的 AI 的一个内容平台，那大家可以无许可的来上面创建多模态的 AI 内容，然后就是如果用户去使用大家创建的一些 AI 节点或者一些完整的产品，会得到一些这个第三类经历。
好，对，突然就被 Q 到了。
大家好，我是那个 Bubble AI 的 co-founder。Bubble AI 是一个做了一个基于 LLM 的一个链下数据的情报分析系统。那它的愿景就是说，把最难最复杂的数据，然后策略，然后用最快跟最难的方式去提供给大家。那所以我们其实是会把用户的这个，比如说交易环节，整个的 for loop 拆成4个部分：信号获取，然后信号解读，然后策略制定跟交易执行。那信号获取环节，我们其实现在是搭建了整个 Web3 速度最快的链下情报分析系统，然后呢，保证大家可以在200毫秒的延时之内可以获取到信号，基本上跑赢了绝大部分的金融机构。然后呢，链上的那个信号解读，我们专门训练了我们的 AI 的模型，然后呢，准确率超过85%。然后策略制定跟那个交易执行的话，其实我们都在做intent 的 centrics 的这些事情，未来会出一些结构化的一些产品，帮助大家去比如说你想说我有多少钱，我想多少收益，那我们自动会去匹配你的策略，帮你去实现。对，就这样。
你好。
你好，我是 Michael， 是那个 Exterior 的 founder。我们是一个游戏的发行平台，对。然后我们自己也会做游戏，然后我们现在有4个游戏项目，其中一个是一个策略游戏，然后有一个是 FPS， 还有一个 RPG，同时还有一个跟 AI 相关的比较重的一个游戏。
大家好，很感谢大家时间，我是 Tyler， 然后我是Quest Labs 的联创，然后 Quest Labs 的话是一个 open 的 network， 然后我们会 offer 一个 accessible 和 interoperable 的 AI data services， 然后是一个全球化的 data services， 然后能 cover 很多的多模态的 AI 的数据的提供，包括还有很多多语种类型的 AI 数据，然后我们主要的话也是在做几个产品吧，就是我们底层的一个 tech stack 里面有一个我们这边称作这是一个 built-in 的AI 的 data platform， 然后它等于就是说任何的客户，任何的 Web 2或 Web 3的 AI 公司只要 opt in 它的数据需求，然后我们就可以做一个自动化的匹配，给它匹配到最适合它定制化，然后能提供最 efficient 服务的AI 数据节点。然后这个数据服务的话，可能会cover 整个的 machine learning ops 的 pipeline， 然后从那个data collection、data preparation、cleaning 到 data labeling， 都会 cover 对。然后在这之上的话，我们也会 build 一个 open 和更 collaborative 的 network， 然后这是个平台，然后我们称之它为一个 datanet， 然后它就是任何人都会可以被 incentivize 去做一个 contribution， 然后 contribution 也是 cover 我刚刚讲所有这些 data service。然后这些 contribution 会 towards 一个更 proprietary 的 data set， 然后这些 data set 的话会通过一个 guided 的推荐模型，然后去更好的去商用化和更多的被 AI 公司给订阅和使用。对。
OK， 大家好，我叫在，然后我是 Ascendant 项目的 co-founder， 然后很感谢大家的时间啊，留到现在应该也很多可能都小伙伴也都饿了。我就尽快介绍一下自己哈。然后我们项目其实比较有意思，我们做的是第一个 AI Power 的玄学元宇宙啊。我们第一款做的是占星的产品，我相信很多女生可能都会比较喜欢这个主题的。然后现在我们其实上线了一些产品，还有 SPT。然后产品这块呢，有一些可以用占星测你的运势，算你跟什么币比较合。然后以及我们上线了一个 AI 的产品。这个产品在 Telegram 上面 beta launch 了3个礼拜，大概有小几万的用户。然后我们也在跟 创的生态做深度的一些 marketing 的合作，欢迎大家去体验，只要搜 AI Astrologer 在 Telegram 上就可以用我们的 bot。
好，感谢大家的介绍，然后之后会对这个各个项目大家这个具体的一些讲解。那还是从大家开始吧，我们从那边往回来，就大家都知道占星是一个古老的学科啊。那在 Ascendant 里边 ，AI 是怎样赋能这个占星的行业呢？然后 Web3 又承担了哪些的作用呢
？OK， 我先泛讲一下我对 AI 和 Web3 结合的理解吧。其实，因为我其实也算是在币圈有比较长的时间，我其实18年那会儿就有入圈，然后这次也是从可能21年左右就开始就是做 NFT 啊相关的一些事情。我的一个很强烈的感受是，我们之前在讲去中心化，在讲社区的贡献，但是社区的贡献其实有一个很大的之前的问题是来自于其实散户也好，或者是普通的 community members 也好，它的创造能力和生产能力是相当不够的。所以我觉得其实某种程度上 AI 是 enable 了decentralization 一件事情啊。随着 AI AGI 的引入，其实大家的创造能力和生产效率都会被极大的提高。这个时候社区的建设、社区的贡献就会能够发挥其价值。那相反过来呢，可能去中心化或者 decentralization 是 AI 不会被 misuse 的一个保障啊。当然我们需要做很多的机制，还有一些社区的运作去maintain 确保这件事情。那在 Ascendant 这个项目呢 ，specifically 呢，其实我觉得 AI 对我们来说呢是极大的提高了 astrology 或者我们叫占星这件事情的 accessibility， 就可触达性。如果大家有玩过相关的一些产品的话，你会知道原来的产品形态都是一种比如你输入你的生辰八字信息，或者你输入你跟你的朋友、你的男朋友、女朋友的生辰八字信息，给到你一个报告，对吧？然后你去在里面做reading comprehension， 做阅读理解，对吧？大家可能以前读书的时候都读过。就是你要在大量的海量的信息中去找到那些跟你相关的东西，所以其实对大家来说是一个非常不能解决你实际问题的一个方式。那所以很多人就会去找一些真人的去服务，但真人的一个很大的问题就是价格的昂贵和质量的不可控。所以我们在做的第一件事情的 AI 的结合，就是能够给到用户一个 highly accessible， 然后 highly problem solving capability 很高的这样的一个产品，可以用一个很有效的方式去给到你针对你的一些问题、一些 concern、一些体验，然后让你得到一些心灵的慰藉，或者是一些更多确定性的一个安全感、确定性的一些获得。所以这个是我觉得 AI帮助我们这个项目最核心的东西，就是